What's good? Welcome to another edition of Politricked here on the Got What You Need Network. I'm your host, Sky. Be sure to support the other podcasts on this network, Ian Friends, Life and Love, the Encourage and Inspire podcast, as well as the Black Male podcast. And we are forever growing. Today we're going to talk about that Dominion voting system lawsuit that's just keeping people at Fox News up at night. Races to watch across the country. The Obamas returned to the White House for the first time since 2017, and this GOP hypocrisy in regards to Trump is what I'm going to call anti-American. But let's start with good old Fox News and this Dominion lawsuit. We all know that right after the 2020 election, many people on the right started to spew nonsense in regards to a rigged election, election being stolen, and other just flat out lies. Most sensible people, once the evidence was indisputable, came to some type of realization that Donald Trump had lost and Joe Biden was the rightful and duly elected president. But some decided to double down on different conspiracy theories, and some even on network TV speaking to millions of people put their reputation as well as the reputation of their employer at risk. I'm talking about Janine Pirro and Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, just to name a few. They have been disposed already in regards to what they said and what they knew when they said it. And recently, email in regards to Judge Pirro comes out, and this is according to NPR.org. The November 2020 email from an anguished Fox News producer to colleagues sent up a flare amid a full-aside of false claims. The producer warned Fox cannot let host Pirro back on the air. She is pulling conspiracy theories from the dark corners of the web to justify then President Trump's lies that the election had been stolen from him. The existence of the email that has been confirmed by two people with direct knowledge of it, it was first discussed a couple of months ago by NPR, so we definitely want to give them credit for it. This is like really big because it's basically saying that not just the hosts that were going on the air, but their producers and the producers of the network also knew that what these people were saying were lies. And the fact that they have internal evidence that they knew that people that they were putting on the air, speaking to millions of people, knew they were lying, but continued to say it. I don't know if Dominion will get the $1.6 billion that they seek, but I do think that Fox is probably going to have to settle. Pirro probably won't be on the air. Carlson will probably won't be on the air. He'll probably be moving over to OAN. And Sean Hannity, even though he hasn't been deposed yet, he will. And he has a lot of things to answer for as well. So, like I said, let's keep an eye on that Dominion voting system lawsuit. I believe it goes to court in April of 2023. But leading up to it, a lot more evidence is going to come out. And it looks to me, it seems it would be smart that Fox will go ahead and settle versus trying to defend it. Even though they're saying publicly now that they'll defend these lawsuits vigorously and all that kind of stuff, I just don't think that it would be smart for them to do so based on how egregious and how irresponsible um, several of their news anchors was in regards to the spewing of that information. Oh man, we got some races to watch in different places across the country. We'll start in the state of Wisconsin, where Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes leads incumbent U.S. Senator Ron Johnson 51% to 44%. That's really big. Anybody that knows Wisconsin knows what kind of state it is. And for a black man named Mandela to be leading in any poll against a longtime incumbent like Ron Johnson is definitely surprising. But Ron Johnson is one of those vote deniers, election deniers, full-on Trumper, and a lot of people in Wisconsin just don't like that, and they're coming out strongly against him and strongly for um, Mandela Johnson, like I said, the current lieutenant governor. So, I mean, it's early, so anything can happen, but that's major news for him to be up by 7 points, even at this early time. Um, Surprisingly, in Georgia, though, man, Reverend Raphael Warnock lead over Herschel Walker has shrunk. Um, he was leading by as much as 9 percentage points, and now that's dropped to 4. And I just really don't know why. I mean, Herschel Walker um, is not even a conservative. Like, he's not even a Republican. He's just a puppet for whoever, has a check, it seems, right now. Now, I always talk about, it's obvious why he's loyal to Donald Trump. Trump gave him his first big check when he was the owner of the New Jersey Generals, and Herschel Walker was coming out of college. Paid him, basically NFL money to come to the USFL versus, going to the NFL or whatever. Had a successful career in the USFL and made a whole lot of money before Trump trashed the league, and people like him, Jim Kelly, Anthony Carter, those that were like stars in the USFL, had to move over to the NFL, and for the greater good. It was some players that had no business over there in the USFL, playing with some of the inferior talent or playing against some of the inferior talent that was there. But it is what it is. But going so far for the USFL, just Herschel Walker is just, I mean, it is so many different words you can use to describe him, and this isn't a podcast to just bash him and just talk ill of him, but he has no business being anywhere near the U.S. Senate. He's not qualified to be a city manager, a city clerk, head of sanitation, and these things. People might be laughing. I'm dead serious. Just the stuff that continues to come out of his mouth, to where even the people that's at these events that's there to support him are looking like, yo, what is this dude talking about, or what have you. we could even say as recently as 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, like somebody like him would be laughed out of like any type of primary, any election, any electoral contest. But now, and I talked about this with Sean on the last podcast, because this nation is so polarized, and it's like either you're on this side or you're on that side. Now, I won't make it a total equal when it comes to the polarization and the volatility, because that's definitely mostly coming from the right. Progressives, Democrats, they have issues. Everything that they want, isn't good for people who look like me, no matter, how much they say it. But what I'll give them is at least they believe that, and at least they are pushing different ideas and different plans to try to help this country, where we have the other side, and it's just don't do anything. Just hurt the other side. Just make them feel pain. So if they want it, then we're against it. The end. And you can't govern like that. For all the people who voted against the recent Biden infrastructure plan, pay attention to how many people went back to their district and bragged about the jobs that it brought to their district. Even though they voted for it, they want to take credit for the things in it that make them look good back in their district. So, please Georgia, it is no way that y'all can do that. Don't do that to me. We spoke about this race a little bit. We're gonna continue to talk about it, and that's Fetterman versus Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Fetterman has a nice, healthy lead right now, 49% to 40%. Um, like that could grow, that could shrink. It's likely to shrink. It's just the way elections go. No matter how stupid or idiotic the person is that you're running against, there's still going to be people for some reason that are going to line up and vote for this person in numbers. And Dr. Oz is he's no different. At least he let up on the whole grocery store and groceries going up thing, and now he's just back to spewing conspiracy theories and things like that. The thing with him, and what bothers me about Pennsylvania is, like, y'all know he's not from there. You know that despite all the property he owns, none of them have a Pennsylvania address. You know he just moved there to just to run for the Senate as a Trump handpicked candidate, and yet like he still has a chance to win. And I don't know. That's just disappointing to me from the people of Pennsylvania, as they would let it was a term back in the day when I was in school, way back when, they called them a carpetbagger, and those was people that would just move to a place simply to run for office or whatever. So it looks like the people of Pennsylvania are not going to let this go. But like I said, we have a lot of time between now and November, and a lot of things can happen. So that's why I got that down as one of the races to watch. So people tuning in from Pennsylvania, people tuning in, and you know people in Pennsylvania that need to get in the know, go ahead and share this link with them. You know what I'm saying? So they could get the flavor as well. Yeah. All right, man. Y'all know, man, the Obamas are my folks, man. Love me some Barack and Michelle, and they returned to the White House for the first time since 2017 for the unveiling of their official White House portraits. This was something that was supposed to be done with the previous administration, but because Obama said some mean things about Trump, Trump would just hate Obama. He hated the fact that he was president in the first place. He brought out the whole birther thing, and dude had to not had to, but showed his birth certificate just to shut people up, and the right always championed Trump for doing that. It was like, yeah, and even though they was like, you shouldn't have to. Yeah, you made that good for nothing have to show his birth certificate, and I'm glad you did it, or whatever. So he damn sure wasn't gonna have the Obamas back to the White House, no matter how customary um, these things are. And it is customary. Like, their pictures will be on the walls of the White House forever. And, Trump can, if it happens to win in 2024 and he decides to go through and take down the people that he don't like or whatever, when he leaves, they're going to go back up. You know, the thing that he doesn't realize is that that's the people's house. Just like what I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, those documents are the people's documents. Like, he doesn't have ownership of them. He didn't have ownership of them when he was president. He had control of them. He had control of who could see it, and he had control of what classification level these documents were, but he didn't own the documents himself, and he didn't have a right to move them. But whatever. From the looks of the event, it was smiles everywhere. Somebody said it was like I guess like a work reunion, and the Obama photographer corrected them and said no, it was more like a family reunion. Most of us hadn't seen each other since we left each other back in 2017 to all go our separate ways and start like our new jobs and our new paths in life or whatever. So to come back for such a joyous occasion and to unveil just some fabulous looking pictures, man. Well, excuse me, not just pictures, but official portraits that will be in the White House forever was huge. It was great seeing them, man. They look good, and they still on message, man. Is it's one thing to have different views, but where we're at now, it's a different time, and when you're voting for one side, you're voting for democracy, and you're voting for another side, you're voting because you want a dictatorship. And I'm glad that not only Barack but Michelle was also very vocal in regards to how dangerous our current political climate is, and not just chalking it up to red versus blue, but American versus un-American. So once again, man, salute to the Obamas. It was great seeing them. I want to close with women and women productive rights. We know that recently we had a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, which basically took away the protections afforded, the protections and the privacy afforded from Roe versus Wade, um, and basically gave states, individual states, to right to just fully ban abortions. And as soon as the Supreme Court decision was made, like states like Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas, um, Florida, um, Kansas, all these states were like ready with laws that would be triggered based on this U.S. Supreme Court decision that everybody knew was coming, and I think they're calling it the Dobbs decision. What they didn't realize with this decision was how much it would motivate people on the left and women on the left, and not just the states that I named, but all across the country to come out and register in numbers. There's a report out of Wisconsin in regards to the registration numbers, and this professional poster said that he hadn't seen anything like it. What's baffling to me is how many women still support Republicans who want to control your bodies. You can be a woman that would basically say, hey, if I get pregnant, I'm keeping it. I don't care who it's by, whatever, whatever. But I don't think that you would want to have that type of control over another woman. You would feel like even if you disagree with that woman, that she should have um, control over the decisions she makes in regards to her body. And the fact that they're being made by men with no type of medical experience, no type of knowledge of the woman's body, and in many cases are just making these decisions, being mean spirited and pandering and catering to the extreme Christian right. And what they thought was going to be issue that was going to bring out the right has really turned into an issue that is going to bring out progressives and women in record numbers. And every state where they can get this on the ballot in some type of shape, form, or fashion, they will. It's such an issue that many Republicans have decided to take their current views or past things that they said in regards to the Dobbs decision off their website and are trying to pivot back to a more sensible, um, I guess, sensible and mainstream position. So we'll see if the voters in those particular states allow these liars to get away with it or whatever. But it's just amazing to me, man, that people come out full Trumpy, full Trumper, or whatever, and then when people back in their own district decide to, turn on them, saying, nah, it was cool when you did this, that, and the other, but now you're doing something that even for me is a bridge too far, and now they're trying to backtrack and backstep. It's just like with the FBI case against Trump. At first, everybody's coming out talking about the FBI. It should be disbanded. It should be disbarred. Somebody even said defund the FBI. And there's a couple of idiots that's still saying that. But for the most part, most sensible people have decided they just need to be quiet, because every day that they say something in defense of this man, something worse comes out about what this man has taken. So they wind up having to stutter and try to defend themselves when cornered in regards to the things that they said in defense of him. So I'm just very interested to see if he's going to be indicted, if he's going to be in charge, or are they going to let him get away with this? Like he always gets away with stuff. And if that does happen, I think that it will be catastrophic to the Democrats and to progressives because it'll really turn off a lot of black and brown people who, like I said, have seen people that look like them have to face the consequences of their actions. And then to watch somebody who was a president and a former president who constantly makes excuses for deliberately breaking the law and using the victimhood defense each and every time as a way to get around being held accountable. It's just annoying at this point, man. It just is. Um, like I said, man, let's make sure that we support the other great podcasts on this network. Ian Friends, the Encourage and Inspire podcast, the Black Male podcast, as well as Life and Love. You're now tuned into Politricked, and I am your host, Skyland. This is officially episode Skyland. Sky, you know how it is. Episode number 2. Make sure that you're sharing and you're subscribing first, and you're getting your people to subscribe, but that you're sharing with people that need to get this information, and especially with our Races to Watch segment. If you know people in those particular states, please make sure they get the link to this podcast and everyone. After that, until next week, that is my time. Peace.